I'm eager to get started. Oh, you're so kind and getting quiet just when I stand up here. I love it. Thank you. It's a minute or two early, so the folks who come at 10:30, you'll have to tell them all the stuff they missed. Good morning. My name is Bert Meek, and I will be the worship associate for this service this morning on August 27th. This being recorded, and so who knows when some of the folks are going to watch it, but today is the 27th. Helen O'Brien was originally scheduled to be the worship associate for this morning. She came down with COVID earlier this week, and then was looking for volunteers, and I'm a sucker for that, so I agreed to step up for her. I am thrilled to let you all know, which you probably already know, that our settled minister, is this too much echo? Too much, is Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe will be back in the pulpit next Sunday. So all summer we've been saying September 3rd, September 3rd. Well, September 3rd is next Sunday. So I hope during these 3 months that you've found the variety of ministers to be offer you services of worship that have been valuable to you. The worship associates have really tried hard to get a whole eclectic group of folks, and I hope that's been meaningful to you. And during these 3 months, especially, I want to take a moment to thank our very capable Jamili Omar as our sabbatical minister during these 3 months. Thank you. You've been such a help through all this, to all of us, in probably many ways that I don't even know, and all the ways I do know, you've been super. So thank you. Thank you, thank you. Now, as a heads up, when I finish the welcome, I'm going to ask you to be thinking of one of your ancestors for whom you feel gratitude or appreciation for something they have offered you. That's going to be our discussion with one of your neighbors. So keep that in the back of your head while I keep going with the welcome. Now, our guest minister this morning is someone we all know and we all love, the Reverend Dr. Samantha Wilson, whom we know as Reverend Sam. Not only is she a Unitarian Universalist minister, she's also a community psychologist, a practitioner of conflict engagement and restorative justice. But another one of her accomplishments, which I just have to mention, is her lovely daughter, Joy. I just saw a current picture of Joy. Now, I think back when the Baja 4 services were being recorded, we got introduced to little Joy and Bethany's Otis. And for me, that's just part of that 3-month experience, 2-year experience. And then Brian's little Ben came on, but he wasn't on camera very much. He's a little more camera shy. But we got to meet these 2 little children. Anyway, so that's one of my connections. Now, she's also, Reverend Sam this is the 2nd year where she's been working with UUCT as our restorative congregations consultant. She's been at our side as we explore our experiences and responses to the misconduct and conflict which we've been through, and she will continue that work with us for the upcoming year. So please, let's give Reverend Sam a warm UUCT greeting as we welcome her back. Unfortunately, COVID cases are slowly back on the rise. And the Pima County risk level, however, remains low, which means that we still do not have to wear masks when we are in service or in concurrent religious education. However, if you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. That is absolutely fine. If you're feeling sick, we encourage you to either wear a mask here or just to join us from home. Based on the last poll we took of UUCT members, we are really committed, much more so than the average population, to being fully vaccinated and fully boosted. So for all of our sakes, especially for those who are the most vulnerable among us, please, let's maintain that commitment. I want to extend a special welcome to any of our visitors who are watching us online. Invite you to fill a guest information card, which hopefully will be put up there for you in the YouTube chat right now. If we have visitors here in person, I encourage you to complete a yellow contact information form, which you'll find at the Welcome Center back in the corner over there after the end of the service. Also, when the service ends, you're welcome to stay for social hour. We've already got, there was a request for more tables, and by golly, we have more tables. So you're welcome to stay for coffee and iced tea, and there are always some interesting snacks that the kitchen ministry comes up for us. And they'll probably need some help to bring more chairs around those tables. If you need to use the bathroom, you can use the ones in Holland. They're open, but it's miserably hot over there. The much more comfortable are the bathrooms down this hall to the left. Now, as we move more deeply into the sacred space of worship, let us remember that our community strives to become as varied as the blooms on the Sonoran Desert, in order that we may better reflect the wonderful diversity with which Southern Arizona is blessed. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome. Whatever cultural or ethnic background you claim, remember, you are welcome. Whomever you love, however you identify your gender, and whatever way you choose to express it, you are welcome here. So, remember what I asked you to talk about. Think of a relative of yours for whom you feel gratitude for what they have offered you. Turn to a neighbor, even better, someone you haven't had breakfast with, and let them know what comes to your mind. Go for it. I love just seeing the energy rise and rise and rise. Now, I'm sure I cut you right in the middle of what you were trying to say. So remember to complete the thoughts and use our social hour afterwards to do that. Freddie. Cordy Vasquez is on loan from the University of Arizona to us, and boy, I'm glad you're here. The call to worship this morning, I want to read something called The Invitation to Join the Journey by Lynn Cox. Come, all of you accidental pilgrims who find yourself on a journey of surprise and of wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test out your thoughts. Come, you who bring your hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open to revelation, and hearts full of love to share. Come, you who seek courage, and you who have more courage than you even realize. Come, you who stand behind the curtain, gathering up the resources to claim your truth. Come, those of you who have been in a bubble, because you are now poised for transformation. We begin our story once again gathering courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, of different backgrounds, and different perspectives. But we all share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, a commitment to encourage and to challenge one another in our spiritual growth. This path that we are upon will ask much of us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with an appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing that we are not alone. So whomever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join us on this journey. Now we'll do the chalice lighting, which will appear magically. Yes, good. So while we prepare to light our chalice here in the sanctuary, do we have a better, technical problems here, too much wind, I love it. Okay, so anyway, those of you at home, if you have a candle or a chalice, please prepare that to be lit as well. So the chalice lighting this morning is written by the Reverend Laura Horton Ludwig. If you will please read along with me. Fire and water, ancient opposites, sun and ocean, the cradle of life, dancing flame and dancing river, we invoke them together today as we kindle our chalice flame.
Celebrating miracle and story. stay up here with me because we will be reading a chapter of our story and then singing, I Know This Rose Will Open, and the lyrics will be up here. So join me. Chapter 1. I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It is my fault, and it takes forever to find the way out.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will... One more time. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it, and I fall in again. I can't believe I am in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Chapter 3. I walk down the same sidewalk. There is still a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall. It's a habit, but my eyes are open and I know where I am. It is my fault, and I get out immediately.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There is still a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Chapter 5. I walk down another street.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
You gotta love her stories, right? Thank you. It's time now for our ritual of joys and sorrows that we hold every single week. Remember that each of us carry both joy and sadness inside. Now, how we feel may not be at all obvious to those around us, but our emotions, they are very real and very present for each and every one of us. And we each and all of us need a time and place to honor those feelings. So this, our shared bowl over here, which we use for joys and sorrows each week, you know that it holds the big rocks, and those signify our collective celebrations and our collective mournings. Now they are from the earth, those rocks, and they are strong, and they are more than strong enough to hold both our pain, our joy, our love, and our anger. Now in just a minute, the bowl will also hold smaller stones, which you will add to represent your individual joys and sorrows. For me personally, I wish Helen O'Brien a speedy recovery from COVID. I also want folks to know my family is blessed with the financial ability to install solar panels, and I'm getting electricity from them, and it's very exciting. So, anyway, my wife is so tired of hearing that, but you haven't heard that, so I can get away with it just this once. Now, we who live in the desert, we know that water is life-sustaining, but also a scarce resource. Let's remember those who walk through the desert right now without access to water. We pour from this jug to represent the jugs of water left by our ministry partner, No More Deaths, in hopes that it will help those coming to our country to survive the perilous journey. See the decorations on the jug? They are made by our children, our RE class, because No More Deaths also decorates their jugs of water to show that they are a gift to those who cross the desert. Now, for those of you who wish to share a joy or sorrow online, please go to menti.com and enter this code, 1582-1786. Now, those of you who are here in the sanctuary and wish to send your thoughts and feelings up on Menti, Brian Moon, capable assistance with his powerful computer in his hand, he will forward them into Menti. If you are here in person and you have a joy or a sorrow that you wish to share and express, you're welcome to come up now down the middle aisle toward the table and place a stone in the water to symbolize how you feel. And then, oh gosh, we usually return over here. There's not much extra room. But anyway, just you'll find your way back to your seats. Please proceed now. Freddie. Now each Sunday, I know that there are joys and sorrows which have not been expressed. Reverend Sam will now take stones and put those in the water to recognize that. May the ripples of healing and the ripples of celebration spread well beyond the confines of our bowl. Let's read Menti. I almost forgot. Okay, there are 5 responses. One person said, I had good learning and rebonding experience today. Excellent. My sister is still battling long COVID since 2021. I mourn the passing of Betsy Cole, a beautiful mentor and great light in the world. Tremendous joy for Reverend Sam joining us again for Pastor Jamili's ministry and a special time with us and Reverend Bethany's forthcoming return. Yes, yes, yes. I'm grateful for Freddie and Reverend Sam. Thank you.
Join me in a time of breathing and arriving. As comfortable as you can be in chairs like these, allow yourself to get more comfortable. And as you hear the creaking of chairs adjusting, enjoy the idea that in this space, you have permission to be a body. So creak the chair away until you feel your body sink in just good enough. And breathe yourself. Whatever feels right, ignoring anything I say that doesn't land for you. Noticing your own body. What is hurting today? What feels loose and easy? For those of us with chronic ache and pain, what feels not as bad as the rest of us? What is it like to breathe? What is your toenail saying to you? Or the last hair on your head, noticing. Noticing your heart, your emotions. What are you feeling today? Do you come with heartbreak, joy, anxiety, curiosity, gratitude, lament, regret? And how do you know? How does your body tell you what you're feeling? Noticing your mind. What are those neurons doing this morning with so much or so little coffee? Is it flashing like lightning? Thoughts rapid like white water rapids? Or are you floating downstream? Your brain carried on a lazy river. How does it feel to be your body, heart, and mind? It is our practice in conflict to notice how we're feeling as wisdom, and then to ask ourselves, the way I'm feeling now, is it helping me do what I am called to do here? So I ask you, is it helping you to do what you are called to do here? Perhaps you might like to slow the river. And if it is such, I invite you to let your breath be the stream. Breathing in and letting the out go as long as it can. In and out. In, oh, and out. Breathing yourself. Notice what shifts or doesn't. From the belly of your being, this is a place where we call you beloved on the earth. Let the breath you breathe remind you of it. Expanding outward beyond your own body, let the breath that is circling around you be beloved. Extending beyond the walls of the building, let the air that encircles all of us remind us we are beloved. And feel your mysterious entanglement with it all. May it be so. Blessed be.
As you catch this chant, please join in. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Let me be, the last part. Let me be part of the love you give. And loudly, let me be part of the love you give. And softly, let me be part of the love you give.
So I had one grandparent that I was close to. She is the ancestor, if I had mingled instead of being introverted in the corner with my coffee, that I would have told you about. When she was in assisted living, she would shoo away the chaplain. My granddaughter is a minister. I don't need a chaplain. And I would tell her, Grandma, please don't use me as an excuse for your spiritual bypassing. She wanted me to travel. And as she was dying, I had planned a trip abroad. Anxious to leave, I told her I considered staying. She said, do not worry, I will not die while you are gone. She died the moment my airplane landed at home. The moment I came back, the moment I turned my phone on, it rang with my mom saying, your grandmother, Maggie McGee, bless that name, has died. I need you to come to the house, gather the flowers in our garden, and bring them to where she's living. So I gathered the flowers, and we gathered all the old black and white photos, all of her favorites. And we sat at her bedside, covered her in flowers, put on her lipstick because, damn it, she would not have it otherwise, and sang 4 hours, waiting out the longest legal amount of time before they had to come get her. So when she died, it impacted me. Now, in 2020, 3 years after her death, it is the beginning of our pandemic. I am the interim minister at Mountain Vista. We are just about to create the greatest YouTube series on the face of the planet. Thank you, Jody. But I am feeling miserably alone. I have just moved here with my boyfriend for my first church job, and I am miserably pregnant. Now, with the pandemic here, we're getting the bumps and the bursts in the messaging. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, go out, don't go out. And there's a brief moment where everyone is being told that they can kind of go out, and massage envy. Do you know massage envy? Thank you. Massage envy is begging you to come back. They promise, just wear a mask, our people will wear masks, we'll take your temperature. And I am so pregnant, I'm so scared of being sick, but damn it, I need a massage. So we book an appointment, my partner and I. We schedule. Now the thing about me is that I'm a minister. I don't talk during massages. I sleep. My partner is a stay-at-home dad. He is desperate to talk to an adult human being. And even when it was the pandemic, before our baby arrived, he was desperate to talk to an adult. So luckily, we go into our separate rooms. I go into mine, fall quickly asleep at the touch of my feet by that healing practitioner. And my partner, soon-to-be husband, disappears to talk. Now, as he talks, the massage therapist, skilled as she is, begins to tell him that she is also a medium. My boyfriend, being an extrovert, is thrilled by this idea and says, well, my wife, soon to be, is a minister, so I know something about that. They begin to talk. And as she talks, she says, there's someone here for you. He says, tell me about them. She has red, curly hair. I don't know anyone like that, my boyfriend says. She has big, sparkly glasses. Nope, don't know her. She has green eyes. I don't know her. She says she's your grandma. That's not my grandma. My grandma is still alive. She says her name is Maggie. She says to you, don't worry, it's going to be all right. My boyfriend ends the massage early. He runs out of the massage room, pays for me, and is just waiting at the door for me and my sleepy pregnantness to come out and meet him before it tumbles out of him. And God, I am crying. Pregnancy and visitation, crying. Now here, I did not learn to work with ancestors. I am a lifelong UU. I know how to explain things, but I don't know how to work with the dead. I have been left to my own devices to make meaning of what happens when we die. And I ask that you resist with me putting any religious or scientific framework on what happened. I ask that you sit with me in the wonder of it, the utter mystery of it. And as I sit in the mystery, the how quiets into wow. And the question I ask is, will I let it change me? Not how did it happen? Did my boyfriend make it up? I know some of you are wondering. But wow, will I let this change me? And here's what changed. Now I find myself talking to Grandma. And when I talk to Grandma, there's a deeper voice within that I can tell the difference, that sometimes answers me. And sometimes I see something beautiful, and I mention it to her. Grandma, look at that rose. And in noticing it in honor of her, the rose is more beautiful, as if two of us are seeing it. Sometimes I leave food for her, or I eat food in honor of her, especially chocolate cake. And I pause to say, here, Grandma, here is our fork. Let's eat it together. And the food is always better. So what I learned from this visitation is the only person who had made my grandmother dead was me. And that by making her dead, I had not enlarged my world. I had made it smaller. Now, I have a different story about ancestors. In 2015, I was part of a multiracial, multi-class, multi-faith delegation to Hiroshima and Nagasaki in honor of the bombings. Now, we were a small and mighty delegation brought at the request of elder Japanese activists with their peace shirts and jeans and their little sun hats. They would fit in right here. And they had carefully put together a tour of us to meet spaces and people impacted by harm. We went to both commemorative ceremonies. We went to Okinawa to visit activists challenging the base, and we went to Fukushima to meet a farmer suffering from the nuclear fallout. Now, I was there partially for my doctoral field work in community psychology. I was curious in studying how are you accountable for historical ancestral harm? But I was there for my own healing and accountability. One side of my family is a military lineage, including the lineage of receiving funding and money from the military that funded my childhood and paid for my religious studies degree. So I felt an ancestral tentativeness in claiming the mission of going to Japan in the spirit of accountability for my ancestors. Now, as one part of my preparation, I read books, Unitarian Universalists, by Japanese feminist ethicist Yuki Miyamoto. She writes specifically about the question of can you have an ethical dialogue with the dead and an ethical relationship to memory? For her, and she is a second-generation survivor of the nuclear bombs, her mom lived through them. What is most important for a dignified, ethical relationship with the dead is that it is dialogical. One in which we stop seeing the dead as it. I don't talk about my grandmother, I talk to my grandmother. It is an object to be acted upon, and instead I see the dead, I see our memories, and I see the community of memories as something to be in dialogue with. She says that your capacity to be in dialogue with the dead will influence your ability to have love among the living. Now, she knows this because in her body, she is a survivor of nuclear weapons. And there is a Japanese word for this, hibakusha, the survivors, or those impacted by the bomb. Now, part of the activism of people in Japan who survived the bomb is to be storytellers and memory keepers. Some are even paid by the government to tell the story so that we do not forget. But they do not tell a simple story. In my own experience of sitting with hibakusha testimonies in Japan, they all began in apology. They began in recognition for the harms perpetrated by Japanese imperialism and war crimes. Then they move into a complex testimony of a living experience of a nuclear bomb. They offer this without blame or shame. They invite you, the listener, into dialogue and into your own healing and accountability. Now, they embody that kind of complex accountability, being someone who can cause harm, even if by your own government, and also someone who can be directly, fiercely impacted by harm. And they refuse easy labels of victims and perpetrators. They invite you to be complex with them. It is a dignified dialogue. You are worthy of listening to, and so are they. And of course, although bomb survivors are not required to do this, there was one study that found those elders who did lived, thrived because of their activism. There is something about eldering that is about this role. So what the hell does that have to do with church conflict? I admit, watching the complex accountability in the lives and bodies of hibakusha makes our conflicts a little small. It also makes our resistance to looking at the past, well, let's say it this way, cute and pathetic. That phrase, cute and pathetic, is not my own. It is from the educator Vanessa de Oliveira, who is part of the Gesturing Towards Decolonial Futures collective, a collective of indigenous leaders from South America to Canada, saying how on earth do we educate this people for the world that they need to come and care for now. So she reminds you that your effort at being innocent and non-complicit is cute and pathetic. That doesn't ask you to be guilty or shameful, quite the opposite. It invites you into your dignity as someone capable of harming and healing, someone capable of being harmed and being healed. So this question of who decides the past and who is accountable for it in the present is the cultural question our congregations should be saying something about in the world at large now. Look at fights over textbooks. How we talk about the past matters. History, representation, truth. Consider land acknowledgements. What is that besides a ceremony of acknowledging complex harm? A small and earnest beginning at complex accountability. And where else, damn it, where else should we be learning how to do complex accountability for the past and loving dialogues with the dead in the present than right here Where else are you planning to learn that? A group of people, thankfully not your family, who want to do it with you. You've struck gold. Our work ahead, the work we are calling each other into for our second year of conflict engagement and restorative practice. It began 1 year ago when your destructive behavior response team, the DBRT, your board and your minister invited me in to come alongside you and look at this congregation's past. This included the known stories of misconduct by ministers, and there are more than one, as well as lay leaders, and the painful conflicts that have happened over your congregation's 75-year history. The questions your leaders were asking is this: how do the conflicts, the beliefs about church or about ministers, how do our ways of being and relating have origins that are older than the moment? Rather than looking at what's happening right now as just coming out of nowhere, they were asking, where did we learn how to be the way we are? What if some of the ways we are being are our best survival strategies from long ago? What if some of us are still hurting? It might not be all of us, but what if some of us are? And then what will we lose if we choose not to look? What unimaginably beautiful future is foregone by refusing to look at the past? Last year, we did so much together. We did a class about our personal responses to conflict. We did a congregational survey where you reflected on your grief and your gratitude for every minister you've ever had. We did workshops on restorative justice. We interviewed 4 of your living former ministers about their experiences working with you. We read through your church histories, and then a small group, your board, your DBRT, your minister, met with me and with ministers from your past and UUA representatives, and we looked at your history like a thick blanket. And what we saw is that this community has survived so much in 75 years. So perhaps it helps to imagine it this way. Imagine that this congregation is a 75-year-old being, not an it. It is a 75-year-old being, and we refuse to make UUCT dead. She, he, they are alive. And they are 75 years old, and they ain't dead yet. So if you have chosen this place to be your spiritual home, then you have adopted an ancestor who needs tending. And if you want this ancestor to thrive in their old age like those rugged Japanese peace activists, sun hats, blue jeans, and peace shirts, then you will need to implore them, which means to implore us, to tell all of our stories with complex accountability for all that you have gone through. Which means that us, listening, taking responsibility, working for personal and shared healing for all that we have been through, those who have been through all of it, those of you who've been through some of it, and those of you who've been through none of it. And if you have come here only recently, and maybe for the first time today, you are not unlike the boyfriend, now my husband, who found himself getting a massage and being spoken to by an ancestor he never met. But he had chosen because he called me family. And that ancestor is going to tell you something. It's going to be all right. But you're going to have to talk to me. So we are going to be inviting all of you this year through workshops, Zoom calls, retreats, experiments, into enlarging your life, our capacity personally, relationally, communally, and culturally to have ethical, accountable dialogues with the dead, such that we have a greater love among the living. Will you join us? May it be so.
So much to reflect upon. Oh, let me know if any of you see folks, someone behind me, all right? Give me a heads up about that. So it's time now for our offering. So however you participated in our service, remember that our congregation depends upon you for your love, your time, and your financial support. Now, for those of you who are here in person, the ushers will soon be passing around the collection baskets amongst you. For all of you watching us from afar, you can send a check to our church office. You can give online at uuctucson.org/donate, or you can text this number, 833-361-5796. So please let us now give freely and generously an offering that helps sustain and strengthen this religious community of ours. Remember, it's a community of hope, of faith, of memory, and of love. For we are now the keepers of the flame, and the flame burns for justice. It burns for the dream of a beloved and a radically welcoming community, and it burns for a vision of the world made whole.
We have one more additional offering to invite you into. It is that our first year of work last year was generously funded by the UUCT board. This year, in the midst of so much for you all, and a real commitment to tending your financial well-being, individuals from last year made pledges to support this work. And last year, individuals made $5,000 in pledges so that I could get started with you right away in August. The next part of that includes seeking more funding. And what we will be doing is what's called a Faithify campaign. If you've heard of GoFundMe, then you'll be familiar with Faithify. Faithify is the Unitarian Universalist version of GoFundMe. So you can get lost in the Faithify web of all the beautiful projects that need funding. Ours is now one that is listed on the website. What we're inviting you to do, and you'll be receiving a newsletter this week just about Faithify, is to consider a gift, but more importantly maybe, to invite your ancestors to help fund this work with us. It might be that you have friends in other UU congregations who would be moved by what we're doing here. It might be that you have family who know that this is the place you call your spiritual home. We are grateful for any donation you give and for your invitation for the people that you love to give as well. And you could be the first person to give today. Today, we launched our campaign, and it is currently at 0. So there are karmic points. Karmic ancestor points for whoever gets there first. We encourage collective racing. Thank you.
Would you please rise as you are able and lilt with me through breaths. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath. When the fire's voice is heard, 'tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees.
So as we extinguish the chalices at home and here, if you will please read along with me, Keep Its Light in Our Hearts, written by Maddie Sisyphus. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again.